none of this was on the drawing board. It was never a plan. Climbing mountains, running a marathon. I wasn't a runner, but to go from running first marathon Everest, then running ultramarathons, then running across the country, thinking, yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It is just that case of mindset, determination, and the message I'm trying to give to other people, as I said, to children I teach other people, is that through self-belief, through hard work and determination, and never giving up when things do get tough, anything is possible. And I'm a firm believer that it is, as I said, and too often we do have that low aspiration, or that boundary we put on ourselves that we can't do that. And that word, I ban it in my classroom, it can't, because it's just such a negative word. If you say you can't, then you won't. So it's a case of, yeah, I can and I will, just watch me. And
hello, beautiful people. On today's podcast, we have the phenomenal Steve Hill. Steve is a deputy head teacher who has taken it upon himself to inspire his children through many adventures, including trekking 200 miles through the Sahara Desert, completing the Amazon Jungle Ultramarathon, the Arctic Ice Ultramarathon, and last year running 380 kilometers across the length of Iceland. All stories shared in his new book, What's Next, Sir? He's even been awarded an MBE from the Queen herself for services to education and charity, having fundraised so far over £150,000. What I personally love about this conversation is Steve's absolute passion for life. He is one of those people who you listen to and you can't help but embody this infectious energy of let's get out there and let's do great things. He's a whirlwind of inspiration as we speak about the necessity of a can-do attitude, of the importance of having big dreams that both excite and scare you, and when met with setbacks, we need to learn, grow, and in a true English way, just get on with it. Please enjoy this powerful conversation with the lovely Steve Hill. So Steve, where I want to start is with your new book, What's Next, Sir? I'm a firm believer that there is no point in dreaming small. We don't have time to chase 1,000 small things. I say, go big. So where I want to start, Steve, is I want to know, have you always been that guy that goes big? Or was there a moment in your life where you realized that you had been playing small and that chasing small things was no longer the path to expanding one's potential and fulfillment?
Yeah, good question. Thinking back, I mean, I'm a primary school teacher first and foremost, as you know, and I've been teaching 25 years. And, for me, it's still the greatest privilege in the world to be part of these children's lives each day and, obviously teaching the academic side of things. But I think that there was a point where I was preaching quotes to the children. I was saying, dream big, I can and I will, watch me, get out there and push your boundaries. And I thought, am I actually doing that myself? Am I just preaching to the children? And have I lost sight of my own big dreams that I had as a child, as a youngster, and, getting so wrapped up in day-to-day life? And I think there was a moment where I thought, right, it's time to get out there, to start chasing my own big dreams, pushing my own boundaries, see what I'm capable of, get out there into the world and have my own adventures. But what a position to be in where I can use those to inspire the children, because I did find that there was a lot of children with very low aspirations. It was a case of, I'm not good enough to do this, not good enough to do that. And I thought, right, I'm going to get out there, push my boundaries, but use this to inspire the children beyond the classroom. And that's where it started. And that was probably about 13 years ago where I thought, right, let's do it. And it was off to Africa to climb Kilimanjaro, which was my first big challenge, as it were, which was fantastic. It was my first visit to Africa. Quite an emotional experience getting to the top of Kilimanjaro. Yes, it was tough.
I want to speak to you about that, Steve, about the emotional experience, because I that was sort of a point in my book that stood out for me, is you were kind of like, I'm not really an emotional kind of guy, but that sort of standing on the top of that mountain brought out those emotions. What was it that kind of, what were you emotional about?
Yeah, I mean, I played rugby as a youngster, so that typical rugby sort of mentality, the lads and what have you. Yeah, I didn't see myself as an emotional guy, but the journey to Kilimanjaro, the training, all the physical side, the emotional investment over the many months of training, and the bonding with the guides, and what have you throughout the trek to what's called base camp. And then summit night was very tough, as it always is on any mountain. It was, high altitude. very cold. It was just a slog, left foot, right foot repeat is one of my mantras, and it was just pushing to the top. And as the sun started to rise, I thought, we must be getting to the top now. And as we got to Gilman's Point, which is the top of the mountain, not the highest point, but the top of the mountain, the guy just turned to me and said, Steve, congratulations, you've conquered the mountain. And it just got me that moment, and I got emotional, and I respect that. And as I turned around and the sun was rising over the, the African plains, it was an emotional moment. Little did I know we still had 3 hours round trip to get to Uhuru Peak, which was tough going. People being sick at the top of the mountain, people feeling extremely lousy, people saying that's enough. But it was a moment, and having planned to climb Kilimanjaro, there was no big plan to go and continue with these adventures. I was just excited then to get back to school to share it with the children. And then the famous line pops up with the children in class. What's next, sir? And I thought, oh yeah, good question. What is next? And it's quite important that we do set goals for ourselves. But that final goal of achieving that goal, that's not the end, because it is what's next. Where we're going next. What next adventure? What next big challenge in life, isn't it? I think we need to keep setting those goals to keep moving through life. We're never done, are we? It's
absolutely
something new, and if we inspire others along the way, then job done.
Yeah. And I mean, things you did do, experiences you certainly had, and sort of Mount Kilimanjaro was in 2009. And I kind of want to fast forward us to 2017, because one of my personal interests was your experience in the Amazon Jungle Marathon. And you described it as one of the hardest things you've ever had to overcome. And to my understanding, there's sort of this story around the trainer, and kind of this lesson around, you can do all the planning, but life will still sort of deliver these setbacks. Can you talk more about being able to overcome these setbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it was 2017 was again up in the game. Having come back from Kilimanjaro, I went to climb Mont Blanc, Mount Elbrus, trekking through the Sahara Desert, the jungles of Borneo. And a big dream of mine is to climb Mount Everest one day. I'd love to climb Mount Everest. Very expensive, and I'd need a lot of time out of school. The next best thing for me was going to base camp. So I did my research, and as you can imagine, all my trips, my adventures need to be in the school holidays, which can be quite restrictive. But doing my research, I'd come across the Mount Everest Marathon, and I thought, wow, this would be a great one to do while at base camp. And it was my first marathon, as it happened. So I was going to run my first marathon at base camp around Everest back to Namche Bazaar, and that was an amazing experience. I think it was, where do you go after that? And it was the North Pole Marathon, where I met a great friend Heather, a wonderful lady,
amazing,
very inspiring lady, and got some wonderful memories of my time with Heather at the North Pole. And they were individual marathons, and it was a marathon then at Petra Deserts and London Marathon. And you get to a point where you think, right, I've done some of these extreme marathons. Let's see why I'm actually capable. Let's push that boundary a little bit further. And the kids at school were getting to the point of saying, "Yeah, you've done a marathon, so you've done the North Pole Marathon." Sort of. And, we know you can do a marathon. It's no big deal. So I wanted to see what the ultramarathon scene was all about, and did some research and came across the Amazon Jungle Ultra Marathon, which is considered one of the toughest in the world. As I thought, well, why not start with one of the toughest? There's no point in saying go big, or go home, as it were. So I booked it, having never run an ultra marathon before in my life. But that's the exciting thing. I was coming out of my comfort zone, and I'm a firm believer if you come out of your comfort zone, it's where the magic happens. It really did raise my training up, up the ante with the training. The children were very excited at school, so going to the Amazon jungle, because obviously we teach that on the curriculum as well. So I might get eaten by crocodiles, etc., etc. But it took a lot of preparation, a lot of training. And I thought, I got there, I was ready to go. And I found myself on the start line with some of the best ultramarathon runners in the world. Some of them couldn't actually put hammocks up, so I used to help put hammocks up with some of them, but we've all got our own strengths, haven't we? And it was the most amazing adventure, to be in the Amazon jungle. But like you said, I probably had one of my biggest setbacks. I trained hard. I finished stage 1 of the marathon, came into camp, and there was a routine pretty much that you had. You'd find a spot between trees, put your hammock up. Invariably, the trees would be full of ants. And again, being one of the slower runners, I'd be coming in the night. So, often, it's dark, raining. There'd be one spot left for me in the worst part of the camp type of thing, right in the corner where you might get eaten. Get my hammock up in the dark, get the wet floors off, wet from obviously the humidity, but also swimming across rivers, and get a bit of food down you, get in your hammock and get a few hours sleep if possible. And that's what I did on that first night. And then the following morning, it was pretty much everything in reverse. wet clothes back on again, swollen feet back into your wet trainers, hammock down your bike, get a bit of, gruel down your high calorie food down you, and off you go for stage 2. And at that point, I was just let down to pick up my left running shoe, and there was a massive rip down the side. And it was one of those moments of complete disbelief, thinking, how's that happened? It obviously happened yesterday. I hadn't realised. And what am I going to do about it? And for a few seconds, I just thought, that's game over. How can I continue? I've got 5 marathons to run in the Amazon jungle. It was a big, big rip. And there was no way that shoe was staying on my foot. And I felt sorry for myself at that moment in time. I thought, well, that's it. There's nothing I can do about it. I gave my head a bit of a wobble, thought about what the kids at school would say, and it pretty much would be, get on with it, sir, as I said to them, in the little setbacks. And I spoke to Chris King, the race director, and he said, what have you done there? Well, use your gaffer tape sort of thing to gaffer tape it up. And I said, what do you mean, use your gaffer tape? And it seems, and ever since, I take gaffer tape with me in all my trips, but it's just it mends anything. So we managed to get some, borrow some gaffer tape of some of the other runners. I gaffer taped it up and put some dip ties on it, and it kept the trainer on my feet, and I allowed me to finish the race. Then that race, my feet were not in good condition. I lost 6 toenails, of which I do keep in a Ziploc bag in class, and I do pass that little bag around class sometimes, which the children don't always enjoy. But as I say, I want to get to double figures with the toenails in the bag. But I finished the race, as I said, I finished what I set out to do, and it was a tough race for sure. But I kept the trainer. People said, "Well, send it back," put a complaint into the manufacturers, and it wasn't that trainer was a big part of my race. And whenever I get asked to do a talk on my adventures, I take the trainer with me. It's been to Buckingham Palace, it's been to St James's Palace for Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and it means a lot to me. And there's a story there, isn't there? And for me, the trainer's a bit like life. In life, we prepare. We train hard, we prepare well for all eventualities, but in life we're going to get setbacks. It's part of life. We've got to accept that things are going to come out of the blue that we don't like, they're going to set us back. And when that happens, we've got 2 choices. We can either sit there and feel sorry for ourselves and blame the trainer, but blame everyone around us and quit, or we can say, I don't like it, I didn't expect it, it's my setback, take responsibility, look for solutions. For me, like, get the gaffer tape and the zip ties out and push on. Right. And sometimes you push on at a slow pace, but you keep pushing on. You don't give up with the setbacks, because that's part of life, and it's part of the learning journey, isn't it? And I think that's a message we all need to take on board, but children especially. Children don't like failure. Children don't like setbacks. It's when they get a setback that they often quit. And it's no, the setback is part of your learning. It's part of life. Accept it, embrace it. It's your setback. Learn from it and push on. And as I say, push on at a slow pace if you need to. So it's there, as I say, it's a big part of my life now. It lives in my wardrobe, that trainer. There's a story behind it. So it was at a low point, but as I say, low points are there to test us to a degree, isn't it? But also, as I say, teach us lessons. And I can't say I've had the same problem since. In the Arctic Ice Ultra, zip shoes, and one of the zips bust on that, and I laughed that time. I thought, these things are just sent there to try us. So all good. But what an experience. And if you haven't done the Amazon Jungle Ultra, I would highly recommend it. It's a great adventure.
Yeah, I certainly have looked into it before, but just sort of the description of the amount of animals and insects and all sorts of things that can eat you. I mean, I live in Australia. We kind of live amongst that stuff, but the Amazon is just a whole nother beast in itself. I think I read in your book, it was sort of, you got told to run in the middle of the track because sort of at nighttime, snakes tend to sort of hang from the trees to try and catch mice. And it was just like, I was trying to imagine myself being out in the Amazon at nighttime doing something like an ultramarathon and then having a snake come down from the tree. And it's not on the top of my list of things to do, Steve.
I can understand that, yeah. I do talk about it. I'm not selling it to people. I think in the race briefing at the beginning, Chris King did say, be careful out there, guys. Jungles are designed to kill. You thought, you're right there. We better be careful. And it's added to the adventure. You know yourself when you do these races, you're in race, mindset, aren't you? You're in challenge mode, I call it. And when you get told these things, or you've got to swim across a river in the middle of the night, knowing there's caiman in there and piranhas and all sorts of things, you just do it. And it's only afterwards you think, how did I do that? Because you're in that mindset of whatever's thrown at you, deal with it, isn't it? And it's afterwards when you get back to normal life, you think, wow, that wasn't an achievement. But thankfully, none of the snakes grabbed me and pulled me up into the trees. So, tell the story.
And you mentioned the Arctic Ice Ultra. I'd love to speak to you about that because I know you had at the time described it as by far the hardest physical challenge you had taken to date. And I kind of want to get into mindset with you, you know, whether it be sort of the Amazon jungle setbacks or something like the hardest physical challenge. What is kind of the self-talk that really helps you? I know sort of one of your main things is left foot, right foot, which I know when I first got into ultramarathon running, these things seem too simple, but it really is the simple things that are quite profound in something like endurance sport. Can you share more about sort of, your mindset in being able to accomplish these amazing things that you have?
Yeah, I mean, it is about mindset, and sometimes you surprise yourself, don't you? But the Arctic Ice Ultra was the following year, so it was the same company Beyond the Ultimate that organised these races, and they invited me to that race, and thankfully it fitted with the half-term holiday, so it was a case of finishing school on the Friday, flying on the Saturday up to Sweden, starting the race on the Monday, finishing on the Friday, was back in school on the Monday, with, again, great stories to tell. And that was a real tough, in a different way. As I said, the conditions, it was getting into minus 45, minus 50 degrees.
Wow.
There were 30 of us started the race. By the end of stage 2, there were only 12 of us left in the race. An 18 pulled out through hypothermia, frostbite, frostnip, and it brought home, you know, how severe and brutal those conditions are. But I think the equipment I chose was the right equipment, and the mindset. You know, I was running my own race. I wasn't racing anybody. Running my race, listening to my body, and enjoying the journey as much as I could, and experiences of the Northern Lights. You know, the crunch under the foot of the snow and the ice. And it was a lot of mind games, that mindset. And I do feel that I have a knack of, when I book the trip, the training, it starts then, but you get closer, my mind starts going into challenge mode. And I get on that plane, and it's a case of, right, I'm in the zone, whatever's thrown at me, whatever discomfort there is, just deal with it and get on with it. And it is breaking those big undertakings down into small, manageable chunks. So again, another mantra is, one step at a time, 1 mile at a time, one checkpoint at a time, keep moving forward. And you just break it down into that achievement of, right, I've got to that first checkpoint. I've ticked off that first day. But whilst doing that, also trying to enjoy that journey, just taking it in. Because I often find that those who are racing at the front, you're often missing the essence of where you are. You're missing that, you've got the Northern Lights above you. You're in the middle of the Arctic wilderness, or you're in the middle of the Amazon jungle. Sometimes just stopping and taking it in and appreciating where you actually are and what a privilege it is to be there is really important. But yeah, like you said, yourself, a lot of like brutal experiences are thrown your way in these events, and it is get on tired legs every day, isn't it, and going again. And it is that mindset of, this is what, remembering your reason why, your purpose, why you were doing it in the first place. And often the children at school are a big motivation. I don't want to let them down either. I expect a lot from them in class, and they expect a lot from Sarah. And just because I've got some infected blisters all over my feet, there's no excuse. It's pain. That pain is temporary, but that quitting will last forever. And it's a case of keep going. And so, it is that, I call it challenge mode. And bring it on type of thing.
Yeah. And one of your sort of mindsets I've sort of read in your book is the exhilarating times when you worry that maybe you have gone too far, but you keep going anyway. That's living. Can you share like maybe an exhilarating experience that comes to mind when you describe that? Because I think that's, certainly a mindset I find quite common in people that complete these big adventures, is they kind of reframe those moments where you sort of like up against that perceived limitation and you have that choice. Like, is this going to be exhilarating and we're going to get this done, or is it going to be something that stops me? Can you talk more about that exhilarating mindset and maybe an experience that comes to mind in that?
I mean, there are lots, the challenges I've done, and it is that this is living. And at that time, it's like, whoa, have I gone too far? And, there's little ones like, taking my gloves off in the Arctic just to clip on my snowshoes and maybe having them off 15 seconds too long, and my hands going totally numb and thinking, wow, God, getting my nimitz back on again and trying to get the blood circulating, getting that, when they've been exposed to the cold, the pain is quite extreme, just from that cold and the ache, and just moving them and thinking, gosh, is that maybe my race, but pushing on and getting that blood flow again, going up Mount Elbrus in a snowstorm in the middle of the night. It's just head down and the snow's pushing into your face. You're going up the side of a mountain, and exhilarating, yes, worrying in many ways, but I think sometimes you haven't got time to think about the worrying. You've got to just keep pushing forward, haven't you? And thinking, well, follow the guide, listen to the guide. And it's only afterwards you remember, yeah, it was tough, but we kept going and we got to the summit, and wasn't that amazing? And it is a case of, you look back differently on those moments when you finish something. You remember the joy and the exhilaration, but not the little niggling little voice at the back of your mind thinking, have we gone too far here? Have we taken on too much? Never going to advocate, putting yourself in danger, but I just think we've got to sometimes have those moments of thinking, woof, this is really taking me out of my comfort zone. I have maybe gone a bit too far, but you know what? I'm still here. I'm smiling, and let's keep going with it, isn't it? And it's only at those points that I think we realise what we're truly capable of. People talk about having boundaries, if you like, and what you're actually capable of. I don't think any of us know for 1 minute what we're truly capable of until we do push those boundaries, isn't it? And get out there. And I have a little saying again, it's when we stop using the word can't to start using the word can, only then will we start really realising, that the person we really are is no match for the one, that we think we are. It's about pushing boundaries. And does it come a point where that you push too far? Well, maybe, and that body breaks, but I've not found that yet. And I shall keep pushing into the loop, as I say. So, yeah, like I said, never put yourself in real danger, but like I say, push beyond that discomfort type of thing, isn't it? Because there's so much more to give.
And I feel like this is really just like part of it is such a journey of self-exploration for yourself. And I know you kind of describe it as sort of helping you to understand who you are and your own limits. What have you learned about yourself? And sort of as you just sort of shared, have you met your limitations, or throughout all of your experiences so far, are you sort of continuing to expand that potential?
I like to think I am, yes, because I mean, every year I try and push that boundary. I don't want to keep doing the same things. So last year I ran across Iceland, which was 9 marathons, 9 days, which was again an amazing experience to run across a country. And I am a firm believer that whatever age, no matter who we are, don't put a cap on what you think you're capable of, because we're capable of stuff more than that. And I don't think I have found my boundary yet. I mean, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, when I was still playing rugby, none of this was on the drawing board. It was never a plan. Climbing mountains, running a marathon. I wasn't a runner, but to go from running first marathon Everest, then running ultramarathons, then running across the country, thinking, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It is just that case of mindset, determination. And the message I'm trying to give to other people, as I said, to children I teach other people, is that through self-belief, through hard work and determination, and never giving up when things do get tough, anything is possible. And I'm a firm believer that it is, as I say, and too often we do have that low aspiration, or that boundary we put on ourselves, that we can't do that. And that word, I ban it in my classroom, I can't, because it's just such a negative word. If you say you can't, then you won't. So it's a case of, I can and I will, just watch me. And it's whatever it is. And I'm not saying to everybody out there, you've all got to go and climb mountains and run marathons through the Amazon jungle. It's whatever it is in life that you say is your Everest or whatever. You can do it, but it starts with that self-belief, that decision to do. It's going to be hard work. There's no easy ride, but the harder the work, the better, the bigger the achievement at the end. And it is about determination to see it through. And when it does get tough, don't give up, because that's all part of the journey, isn't it? And it's all the sweeter at the end. Achieve that goal, and then what's next? So I am a firm believer that, like I said, none of us, no matter what we do, where we're from, fully understand what we're capable of. And I say it's about pushing those boundaries, coming out of that comfort zone, and realizing that when we come out of that comfort zone, magic happens. So go for it.
I love it. And what have you learned about yourself? Because obviously, as you said, you've learned, you weren't always a runner. Like these are new experience that you've had. But what have you sort of learned about maybe more of who you are in terms of your character?
Yeah, I've always known I'm a team player, being part of a team, but these things are about being part of a team. And as I said earlier, you've got some of the best runners in the world who can't put a hammock up. So you're mucking together, they motivate you to keep going, but you help them put hammocks up at night in camp. So there's that I can adapt very well to situations that I've got, reasonably high pain threshold, that, that when things are hurting, you can still keep going. And that I have got that ability, as I said, that mindset, so I can flick into that mindset of whatever's thrown at me now, let's just deal with it. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't get much more comfortable being totally sweaty, wet through in the middle of the Amazon with a rip trainer full of gaffer tape with no grip, with, another 60, 70K to go, ants biting you, mosquitoes flying in your head, and pushing on with the, the prospect of sleeping in a hammock again at night and eating the most tasteless food. That's pretty tough, and yet being able to deal get that back to the classroom, share it with the children, but then get back to normal life. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Because I don't think until we do that, until we get out there, do we know how we'll cope with it. But it's being able to cope with those tough situations. And I think it then enables us to take something back into civilian life, if you like, back to the classroom, back to what we do, and makes us a better person as a result. And if we can share that with others and try and instill that in others too, again, it's great, isn't it? It's what's being humans about, as I say, if we can help our other people too.
And I want to speak to you about happiness, because I feel like a lot of what you're sharing really plays into this getting out there. And I feel like, we could generalize to an extent that there are quite a few unhappy people at the moment. And a big belief of mine is in line with what you're saying, that, you've got to get out there to start sort of moving, expanding your potential. And in your book, you share, I believe that happiness lies on the other side of adversity, and the obstacles we encounter in life teach us much more than the answers we are seeking. We need to experience failure for ourselves before we can truly grow and realize our full potential. I love this paragraph. It's extremely powerful, Steve. Can you share more about this belief of happiness and how we can bring it more into our lives?
Yeah, I believe it's a choice thing, isn't it, happiness? It's all within our capabilities. It's like, we talk about adversity, we talk about setbacks, we talk about life situations, and it's how we respond to those, isn't it? It's about whether you feel sorry for yourself, you become that victim, it's all against me, and as I say, do nothing about it apart from just sit and wallow in that and feel sorry. And I know people are in some tough situations, but it's got to be a choice thing from you then to say, well, I'm going to do something about it. What is making me unhappy? What's making me feel this way? We'll make those changes, and it can be small changes initially, can't it? Whatever that may be. Going out for a walk, isn't it? Phoning a friend, or whatever it may be. You've got to take that responsibility, because I don't, what that victim mentality that, the world's against me, nothing I can do about it, so that's my life done with type of thing. And it is a case of making that choice, and it might be listening to somebody else, reading the book, I don't know, but, I've had a couple of people said to me, reading your book's changed my life. It's made me realise that I've lost sight of my dreams. I'm going to do something about it. And you're thinking, wow, has it really? And you think, no, seriously, that bit there made me think, yes, I've got to do something. So I've started, I've booked this, I've done that. And it's got to come from within, hasn't it? That change. We can all find happiness, and what we find happiness in is different for everybody. We find happiness in running daft distances across, extreme terrains, don't we?
Counting how
many blisters, and others don't. It's, people like to listen to the adventure, but they say, no, it's not for me, but lovely to have read about it or heard about, been on that adventure with you. But whatever it is for people, learning to play an instrument, or going out and running a 5K or whatever it is, it's a choice thing. And once you do that, and it might be, as I said, going back to coming out of comfort zones again, your life changes, doesn't it, for the better? And suddenly you're walking on clouds, you're walking around with a smile on your face, and that's important. And I say it's whatever it is for that person, but it's within us. It's a decision, a choice we've got to make ourselves, isn't it, to make that difference, and not to sit feeling sorry for ourselves. So that's where I think I'm coming from with that chapter.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And when you return to the classroom after these incredible experiences and adventures, what is it that you share with your students that you find time and time again really sort of open up the eyes of these kids?
Yeah, I mean, they're so excited. They're excited before I go, because I try and include them involved in everything, so it's from September, new class. It's always, when we've done all the other sort of books out and everything, what's our challenge this year, sir? So it's what's our challenge? They buy into it. It's their part of the challenge as well. And we have that discussion of, well, what do you think? And they come up with some wild and wonderful things like, swinging across the Atlantic and, running on the moon and all that, which I'd love to do one day.
Yeah, you say wild now. I see a future where this is all possible.
Absolutely, and hopefully in our lifetime, we're great to be there. But and we have the discussion, and like I said, they buy into it and they come up with the ideas, and then eventually I book it, and then share it with them, and they get very excited about that, wherever it may be. And then I share the training with them as well. I tell them, training, they hold me accountable as well. In the middle of the winter when it's dark and wet, and you have a long day at school, and you don't often feel like getting out there, and it's about getting out there, putting the hard miles in.
Right.
We're not watching, if you like, isn't it, in the middle of winter when it's dark, and being accountable to them. And in the morning they'll say, you know, did you get out last night and train, sir? And yes, I did. And they spur me on in that sense, and they give me a great send off when I go on a challenge. So they'll write me little letters to open on each day one, and it's motivational. Keep going, sir. We believe in you. You can do it. And then, you know, all that, which is fabulous. So as much as people might say, well, you inspire these children, they also inspire me and motivate me. And we talk about those dark moments when it is tough and you're grinding it out. I often think about them at school and think about, you know, those conversations when I get back, and that really spurs me on, motivates me. So as I say, at the end of the challenge, it's great to celebrate, if you like, with your fellow runners. I think it's exciting to get back. You know, I take a lot of photographs or put a PowerPoint presentation together and share it with them. They're very excited, and the questions then are all, you know, did you see any polar bears? Did you see any crocodiles? And, you know, I might elaborate sometimes and say, well, it's Stamford a river, it's full of crocodiles and what have you. And I just love that. But it's, as I say, it's hopefully showing them that a normal person, their teacher, who is there every day with them, teaching the lessons, marking the books, can go out and do these, you know, bonkers, if you like, challenges and these remote world, and showing that they can do the same or whatever they want in life. It's possible for them. And just showing them that journey, isn't it? And the setbacks, and telling them that it's not always easy. And that's when you don't give up. And it's just great, and opening the world up to them as well. You know, we have maps in class and we learn about the Amazon jungle, and to be able to share it with them, you know, and open that world up to them. I like to think, like I say, I'm opening the world up to them and planting a small seed of adventure in these young minds that will hopefully, you know, flourish and grow. I mean, only before we finished in the summer, I had a little year 2 girl who's 6 years old come up to me and just said, Mr. Hill, when I'm older, can I come and climb Kilimanjaro with you? Can I come and climb Mount Everest with you? Absolutely, of course you can. And to see the excitement on their faces and the sparkle in their eyes, it's magic. It really is, to think that these little children are dreaming big. They're thinking about the future and the adventures and the challenges that they may go on. I did a talk in a school for a friend a couple of years ago before lockdown, and I'd never met these children before. And after doing the talk, it went really well. I've spent some time with the year 3 class. So again, you're looking at 7-year-olds. And I'd never met these children before. And 2 little girls came up to me holding hands and just said, excuse me, Mr. Hill, but when we get older, can we come on one of your adventures with you? I said, of course you can, girls. Where would you like to go? And they said, the Amazon jungle. And the usual conversation of, are you okay sleeping in a hammock and you don't mind spiders and snakes and so forth? And said, no, we're okay with that. Can we bring some friends with us? I said, of course you can, girls. And the look on their faces, they were holding hands and they jumped so high off the floor and they were giggling and their eyes were sparkling. And I thought, we need to bottle that, because that's what young children should be like, really excited about the future and what they can make of their future. And yet sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes we see these children with very low aspirations who just think, you know, I come from a poor background, I'm not very academic, whatever, and therefore there's not a lot for me. And it's a case of, yes, there is. You know, everyone should have big dreams, is another thing that I try and advocate. Big dreams, and your dreams should be so big, so massive, that they excite you so much. And they excite you so much that they even frighten you to a degree, because they're that big, they're massive. And nobody in this world has got the right to tell you that your dreams are too big. But you've got to believe it, and you've got to work hard and make those dreams a reality. And how exciting does life then become? And that's, as I say, the message I'm trying to give to these young people. Get out and have these massive dreams and live your best lives.
Yeah. I'm pumped, Steve. Let's go. I'm going to Amazon.
Let's bring it on. Let's get Amazon. Get the diary. Yeah.
So what, I mean, you know, in the spirit of the question, what's next, sir? What is next for you?
I'm always looking for the next. I mean, this has been an adventure in itself, writing the book. I mean, as I say, going back to that, it was never something I ever envisaged doing, you know, but equally so, running marathons with the Amazon wasn't. And that's the exciting thing about life. When you grab opportunities, sometimes they take you down a path that you never planned on, and it might work out, might not work out. But that's the exciting thing, isn't it? Grab opportunities, see where they lead, and it might lead somewhere exciting, it might not. But the book did, and as I said, to write the book, I said that was my lockdown adventure. I wasn't chopping my way through jungles or, you know, running through the Arctic. I was chopping my way through sentences and paragraphs and chapters, and it was a challenge and adventure of a different type, and the end result has been fantastic. But yeah, what's next? I'm always looking, and there's nothing this summer. There's been nothing jumped out at me this summer. I've got my eye on something for next year, which is Costa Rica. Running across Costa Rica sounds quite exciting. But I also think about the continents. You know, there's certain continents I've not been to. So I've not been down to Australia. So I want to come down to Australia and do a challenge down in Australia at some point. Will be fantastic. I've not done one in North America, Antarctica. So there's lots of things. as I said earlier, I'm restricted to school holidays. So there's certain things I'd like to do in term time. So they'll have to wait until I, semi-retire from teaching, maybe, or become a full-time adventurer. I don't know, but who knows? But yeah, always looking. So yeah, Costa Rica maybe next year. I've come across a Svalbard, coast to coast across Svalbard, which sounds quite exciting. Wow. Bearing in mind there's more polar bears in Svalbard than humans. So, and again, any suggestions, any from yourself or your listeners, I'm up for anything that again pushes those boundaries. So I've run 9 marathons, 9 days last year. I want to do further than that, but it's got to be in an extreme environment. I like, the more extreme, the better. That it's got to be worth doing, hasn't it? You've got to have a real high level of apprehension. Absolutely. You got to play. Have I gone too far here? Well, let's wait and see. Let's do it. So, as I say, I have no intention of slowing down. It is keeping that question going. What's next? And in September, in a few weeks' time, that's one of the first things the new class will meet with. What's this year's challenge, sir? So I need to ensure that I've got something in the pipeline. That's is getting me excited. But I'll keep you posted. But I'm more than happy to do the Amazon jungle with you if you've decided you'd like to do it.
Thanks. I'll probably just hide behind you the whole time, Steve.
But as I said, let's think about that. But there's all sorts, isn't there? And maybe doing something with Heather. Sometime in the future.
Love that.
Fables would be great, wouldn't it?
That I am definitely in for. What a lovely idea.
My first visit to Australia, coming down there to show an adventure to you guys. So
would love that.
Tentatively pencil something in the future.
Yes. Done. Well, thanks so much for this conversation, Steve. Truly, you're an absolute inspiration, and it really touches my heart how passionate you are about changing children's lives. So I hope you really feel how proud we are of you. And I hope you continue. It sounds like you're going to be doing this to the end of your days. So I'm excited to follow your journey.
You're very kind. Thank you for that. Really kind. Thank you.
So Steve, on a final note, I would love to ask you, what does it mean to you to be human?
It's a big question, to be human. I think for me, it's living your life to the full, but also while doing that, connecting with people and making a difference to the lives of others in a positive way, in however that may look for you. Trying to inspire other people through what you do to live their best lives too. Because I think we can do that and make a difference in the world in a positive way, that when people have met you, they go away thinking, I feel a bit better about myself now, and it's made me change my mindset. So living your best lives and making good positive connections and helping other people to live their best lives is possibly what I'd say is about being human.